Welcome! Today, we're diving into the basics of rental notices. Whether you're a tenant or a landlord, understanding what a rental notice is can save you time, money, and stress. Rental notices are official communications that play a crucial role in the rental process. They help set expectations, clarify responsibilities, and ensure both parties are on the same page. In this video, we'll break down what a rental notice is, why it matters, and how it's used in real-life situations. Let's get started by defining the term and exploring its importance in the rental world. A rental notice is a formal written communication between a landlord and a tenant. It's used to inform the other party about important changes or actions related to the rental property. For example, a landlord might send a notice to end a lease, raise the rent, or schedule repairs. Tenants, on the other hand, might use a rental notice to inform the landlord of their intention to move out. The notice typically includes key details like dates, reasons, and any required actions. This ensures transparency and gives both parties time to prepare for the upcoming change. Rental notices are essential for maintaining a healthy landlord-tenant relationship. They provide a clear record of communication and help prevent misunderstandings. By giving advance notice, both parties have time to adjust their plans, whether it's finding a new tenant or preparing to move. Rental notices also help ensure compliance with local laws and lease agreements. In many places, providing proper notice is a legal requirement, and failing to do so can lead to disputes or even legal action. That's why it's so important to understand how and when to use them. There are several types of rental notices, each serving a different purpose. The most common include notice to vacate, notice of rent increase, notice of entry, and notice of lease termination. Each type has its own requirements and timelines, which are often set by local laws or the lease agreement. Understanding the differences between these notices is key to making sure you follow the right process. In the next few scenes, we'll look at each type in more detail, so you know exactly what to expect. A notice to vacate is one of the most common rental notices. It's typically sent by either the landlord or the tenant to let the other party know that the lease will be ending and the property will need to be vacated. The notice period can vary, but it's usually 30 or 60 days, depending on local laws and the lease agreement. This notice gives everyone time to make arrangements, such as finding a new place to live or preparing the property for new tenants. It's important to provide this notice in writing to avoid any confusion. A notice of rent increase is issued by the landlord to inform the tenant that the rent will be going up. This notice must include the new rent amount, the date the increase will take effect, and often the reason for the change. Local laws usually require landlords to give tenants a certain amount of advance notice, often 30 days or more before the new rent kicks in. This gives tenants time to decide if they want to stay or look for another place. Always check your lease and local regulations for the exact requirement. A notice of entry is used when a landlord needs to enter the rental property for reasons like repairs, inspections, or showings to potential tenants or buyers. Laws usually require landlords to give tenants advance notice, often 24 to 48 hours before entering. The notice should state the reason for entry, the date, and the time window. This protects the tenant's right to privacy while allowing the landlord to maintain the property. Failing to provide proper notice can lead to legal trouble, so it's important to follow the rules closely. A notice of lease termination is sent when either the landlord or the tenant wants to end the lease agreement before its scheduled end date. This could be due to a breach of contract, non-payment of rent, or other serious issues. The notice must clearly state the reason for termination and the date the lease will end. In many cases, local laws require a specific notice period and may even require certain steps to be taken before the lease can be terminated. Always consult your lease and local laws to ensure you're following the correct process. Rental notices are not just a courtesy, they're often required by law. Each state or country may have different rules about how much notice must be given, what information must be included, and how the notice should be delivered. For example, some places require written notices, while others may accept email or even text messages. Failing to follow these legal requirements can result in delays, fines, or even legal disputes. It's always a good idea to check your local laws or consult a legal expert if you're unsure. Writing a rental notice doesn't have to be complicated. Start by clearly stating who the notice is from and who it's to. Include the property address, the date, and the specific reason for the notice. Be sure to mention any important dates, such as when the action will take place. Keep the language clear and professional, and avoid emotional or accusatory statements. Finally, sign and date the notice. If required, deliver it using the method specified in your lease or by local law, such as certified mail or hand delivery. A typical rental notice includes several key sections. At the top, you'll find the date and the names of both parties. Next, the property address is listed for clarity. The body of the notice explains the reason for the notice, such as ending the lease or increasing the rent, and provides any required dates. At the end, the sender signs and dates the notice. Some notices may also include a section for the recipient to acknowledge receipt. Using a standard format helps ensure all necessary information is included and reduces the risk of misunderstandings. How you deliver a rental notice can be just as important as what it says. Common delivery methods include hand delivery, certified mail, email, or even posting the notice on the property door. Your lease agreement or local laws may specify which methods are acceptable. Always keep a record of when and how the notice was delivered in case there's ever a dispute. Using a reliable delivery method ensures the notice is received and helps protect your rights as a landlord or tenant. The notice period is the amount of time between when the notice is given and when the action takes place. For example, a 30-day notice to vacate means the tenant has 30 days to move out after receiving the notice. Notice periods can vary depending on the type of notice, the lease agreement, and local laws. It's important to give the correct amount of notice to avoid legal issues. If you're not sure how much notice is required, check your lease or consult a legal expert. Mistakes with rental notices can lead to big problems. Some common errors include not giving enough notice, using the wrong delivery method, or failing to include all required information. Sometimes, people forget to sign or date the notice, which can make it invalid. Another mistake is not keeping a copy of the notice for your records. Avoid these pitfalls by double-checking your notice before sending it and following all legal requirements. Taking these steps can help you avoid disputes and keep the rental process smooth. Tenants have specific rights and responsibilities when it comes to rental notices. They have the right to receive proper notice before any major changes, such as rent increases or lease termination. Tenants are also responsible for providing notice if they plan to move out or end the lease early. Failing to give proper notice can result in penalties, such as losing a security deposit. Understanding these rights and responsibilities helps tenants protect themselves and maintain a good relationship with their landlord. Landlords also have important rights and responsibilities regarding rental notices. They have the right to issue notices for things like rent increases, repairs, or ending a lease. However, they must follow the law and provide the required notice period. Landlords are responsible for delivering notices in the correct way and keeping records of all communications. Failing to do so can lead to legal trouble or delays in making changes to the property. By understanding and following these rules, landlords can manage their properties more effectively. Once a rental notice is given, the clock starts ticking on the notice period. Both parties should use this time to prepare for the upcoming change. For example, tenants may start looking for a new place to live, while landlords may begin searching for new tenants or scheduling repairs. It's important to communicate openly during this time to avoid misunderstandings. If either party has questions or concerns, they should address them as soon as possible. This helps ensure a smooth transition for everyone involved. Disputes over rental notices can arise if one party feels the notice was not given properly or if the information is unclear. Common issues include disagreements over the notice period, delivery method, or the reason for the notice. If a dispute occurs, it's important to review the lease agreement and local laws. Sometimes, mediation or legal action may be necessary to resolve the issue. Keeping clear records and following the correct process can help prevent disputes and protect your rights. Rental notices can affect security deposits, especially when a tenant moves out. If a tenant fails to give proper notice, they may lose part or all of their deposit. On the other hand, if the landlord doesn't follow the correct process, they may be required to return the deposit in full. Both parties should document the condition of the property and keep copies of all notices. This helps ensure a fair outcome and reduces the risk of disputes over the deposit. Lease agreements often include specific rules about rental notices. These rules may cover how much notice is required, how it should be delivered, and what information must be included. Both landlords and tenants should read their lease carefully to understand these requirements. Following the lease agreement helps prevent misunderstandings and ensures that both parties are protected. If there's ever a conflict between the lease and local law, the law usually takes precedence. Sometimes, landlords need to give notice before entering the property to make repairs or perform maintenance. This notice should include the date, time, and reason for entry. Tenants have the right to reasonable notice and should be given enough time to prepare. In most places, 24 to 48 hours notice is standard. Providing proper notice helps maintain trust and ensures that repairs can be completed efficiently without violating the tenant's privacy. Landlords may also need to inspect the property during the lease. A rental notice for inspection should state the date, time, and purpose of the visit. Tenants must be given reasonable notice, usually at least 24 hours. This allows tenants to prepare and ensures their privacy is respected. Regular inspections help landlords maintain the property and address any issues early. but they must always follow the correct notice procedures. If a landlord wants to show the property to potential tenants or buyers, they must provide a rental notice. This notice should include the date, time, and reason for the showing. Tenants are entitled to reasonable notice, which is usually at least 24 hours. Providing notice helps tenants plan and ensures the showing goes smoothly. It's important for landlords to respect the tenant's schedule and privacy during this process. When a lease is about to expire, landlords may send a notice offering to renew the lease. This notice should include the new lease terms, any changes in rent, and the deadline for the tenant to respond. Tenants should review the notice carefully and decide whether to accept the new terms or move out. Providing clear notice helps both parties plan for the future and avoid last-minute surprises. If a tenant fails to pay rent, the landlord may issue a notice for non-payment. This notice typically states the amount owed, the deadline to pay, and the consequences of not paying, such as eviction. Local laws often require landlords to give tenants a certain amount of time to pay before starting eviction proceedings. Tenants should take these notices seriously and communicate with the landlord if they're having trouble making payments. Landlords may issue a notice if a tenant violates the lease agreement, such as having unauthorized pets or causing damage. The notice should describe the violation, the steps needed to fix it, and the deadline for compliance. If the tenant fails to correct the issue, the landlord may begin eviction proceedings. Clear communication and documentation are key to resolving lease violations quickly and fairly. Month-to-month leases require special notice to end. Either the landlord or tenant can give notice, usually 30 days in advance, to terminate the agreement. The notice should be in writing and include the date the lease will end. Following the correct process helps avoid confusion and ensures a smooth transition for both parties. If a tenant wants to sublet the property, they may need to provide notice to the landlord. The notice should include the proposed subtenant's information, the dates of the sublet, and any other relevant details. The landlord may have the right to approve or deny the sublet, depending on the lease agreement. Providing clear notice helps avoid misunderstandings and ensures everyone is on the same page. When roommates are involved, rental notices can get a bit more complicated. If one roommate wants to move out, they should provide notice to both the landlord and the other roommates. The notice should include the move-out date and any changes to the lease. Clear communication helps prevent confusion and ensures a smooth transition for everyone living in the property. Sometimes, tenants or landlords need to end a lease early. An early termination notice should explain the reason for ending the lease, the proposed end date, and any penalties or fees. Both parties should review the lease agreement to understand their rights and obligations. Providing proper notice helps avoid disputes and ensures a fair process for everyone involved. Rental notices are often the first step in the eviction process. If a tenant fails to pay rent or violates the lease, the landlord must provide a formal notice before starting eviction proceedings. The notice should explain the reason for eviction, the steps needed to fix the issue, and the deadline for compliance. Following the correct process is essential to avoid legal problems and ensure a fair outcome. Some landlords require tenants to have renter's insurance. If this is the case, the landlord may send a notice reminding tenants to provide proof of insurance. The notice should include the deadline for submitting proof and any consequences for failing to comply. Tenants should review their lease and make sure they have the required coverage to avoid problems. If there are changes to utility services, such as who is responsible for paying or how services are billed, the landlord should provide a rental notice. The notice should explain the changes, the effective date, and any actions tenants need to take. Clear communication helps prevent confusion and ensures everyone understands their responsibilities. If a landlord plans to renovate the property, they must provide advance notice to tenants. The notice should include the renovation dates, the areas affected, and any impact on the tenant's use of the property. Tenants should be given enough time to prepare or make alternative arrangements if necessary. Proper notice helps maintain a good landlord-tenant relationship during renovations. If the landlord decides to sell the property, they must notify the tenants. The notice should explain the sale process, any changes to the lease, and whether tenants will need to move. In some cases, tenants may have the right to stay until the lease ends. Providing clear notice helps tenants plan and reduces uncertainty during the sale. If ownership of the property changes, the new landlord must provide notice to the tenants. The notice should include the new landlord's contact information, the effective date of the change, and any updates to payment instructions. Tenants should update their records and direct future communications to the new landlord. Clear notice ensures a smooth transition and helps avoid confusion. If the landlord changes the pet policy, they must provide notice to tenants. The notice should explain the new rules, the effective date, and any actions tenants need to take. Tenants should review the notice and update their arrangements if necessary. Clear communication helps prevent misunderstandings and ensures everyone is aware of the new policy. Landlords may update the smoking policy for their property. If so, they must provide notice to tenants explaining the new rules, the date they take effect, and any penalties for violations. Tenants should review the notice and make any necessary changes to comply. Providing clear notice helps ensure everyone understands and follows the new policy. If there are repeated noise complaints, the landlord may issue a notice to the tenant. The notice should describe the complaints, the steps needed to resolve the issue, and the consequences of continued violations. Tenants should take these notices seriously and work to address the problem. Clear communication helps maintain a peaceful living environment for everyone. If there are health or safety concerns at the property, the landlord must provide notice to tenants. The notice should explain the issue, the steps being taken to fix it, and any actions tenants need to take. Tenants should follow the instructions and cooperate with repairs or inspections. Proper notice helps keep everyone safe and ensures the property meets legal standards. In emergency situations, such as fire or flooding, landlords may need to enter the property without advance notice. However, they should still provide notice as soon as possible after the fact, explaining the reason for entry and any actions taken. Tenants should cooperate during emergencies and follow any instructions to stay safe. Communication is key to handling emergencies effectively. Rental notices must comply with fair housing laws, which protect tenants from discrimination. Notices cannot be used to target tenants based on race, religion, gender, or other protected characteristics. Landlords should ensure that all notices are fair, consistent, and based on legitimate reasons. Following fair housing laws helps create an inclusive and respectful rental environment. Keeping good records of all rental notices is essential for both landlords and tenants. Save copies of every notice you send or receive, along with proof of delivery. These records can be invaluable if there's ever a dispute or legal issue. Organizing your documents helps you stay on top of important dates and ensures you're always prepared. With technology, many landlords and tenants now use email or online platforms to send rental notices. Digital communication can be fast and convenient, but it's important to make sure it's allowed by your lease and local laws. Always keep digital records and confirm receipt when possible. Using secure and reliable methods helps ensure your notices are delivered and received on time. To wrap up, rental notices are a vital part of the landlord-tenant relationship. They help ensure clear communication, legal compliance, and smooth transitions for everyone involved. Whether you're a tenant or a landlord, understanding how and when to use rental notices can help you avoid disputes and protect your rights. Always follow your lease agreement and local laws, keep good records, and communicate openly. With these tips, you'll be well prepared to handle any rental notice situation that comes your way.